Hello, welcome back to the Temple of the Holy Beard. I'm Pastor Dave. Thanks for joining us today. I haven't made a video in a while. Unfortunately, it's been a few months. I've just been busy with one thing or another. I apologize for that. I've missed it, I'm sure, as much as you have. But I'm trying to get back in the swing of things. So let's get started. Today's video is just thinking about gardening in general. Right now, this is the middle of April 2023, so we're getting into spring. Temperatures starting to warm up. Depending on where you live, you might have had your last frost, or depending on where you live, there might be a couple more to go. Either way, if you're planning on having a garden, which I highly suggest you do, you should be thinking about it. If you're in an area where you can start preparing it, you should be preparing it, even if you're just getting the ground ready, adding some fertilizer. Planning is an important one. Thinking of where you're going to put things, what you're going to want to grow. Of course, don't grow anything that you're not going to eat or you're not going to use some sort of way. That's just wasteful. And use that space for things that you are going to use or things that you want to try. I know a guy who's just likes trying new things, so he'll get different varieties of tomatoes, different colors, different flavors, whatever, just to grow it, just to see if he likes it. And if you've got the space and you have the interest, by all means do it. This is another way that you can be creative and you can have some fun. You can learn some new things. Also start, as it's growing, once it gets going. I mean, right now you should be working on the planting and preparing to plant. But look at saving seeds. I mean, you spent the time growing it and trying to get the crop out of it, and if you like it, save some seeds from it, and you can replant your own next year. There's no point in rebuying when you can just do it yourself. Don't spend the money if you don't have to. Anyway, when we talk about gardening, what do you picture? A lot of people picture some huge plat of land, big rows, and huge crops. Especially, there's some crops that's what you need. Corn, unfortunately, is one of those where you have to plant quite a bit. Now, what you consider a lot is a matter of opinion, but you can't just plant a couple of corn stalks. Not like tomatoes or cucumbers. You can plant just one plant if you wanted to, or just a couple of plants if you wanted to, and that would be fine. You can't do that with certain other things like corn, for example. But how much space do you really need? Honestly, it depends on how much you want to get out of it, what your goals are. I mean, I suggest if you can, try to grow to the point where you produce all the vegetables and fruits, at least the vegetables that you need to get you through a year. A year and a half is optimal because hey, you plant it now, it's going to harvest in a couple of months, and then you've got all winter to eat it until it harvests again. So try to do that. Try to look at it that way if you can. But what if you don't have space? I know there's some viewers that might live in an apartment. I mean, how do you grow a garden when you're in an apartment? You might be surprised. What if you just have a little spot of land? What if you're in a neighborhood or in the city, and you barely have any dirt at all? What do you do? And again, you might be surprised. What I've seen people come up with is just impressive. You're only limited by your imagination. And if you think that you don't have enough space to have a garden, well, maybe you're right. Maybe you're not. Maybe you just need to be a little more creative with it. I say spend this time Googling, researching container gardening, vertical gardening. That will open up doors for you. Container gardening is basically just using something that'll hold dirt, a bucket, a bag, a box, a bottle. If you want to grow your own herbs for your kitchen, I mean, you can use it in a tiny little pot on your windowsill. It might not be enough for all the herbs that you use, but at least give you some fresh ones here and there. I've seen people use 20-ounce soda bottles. Cut an opening in it, put a couple holes in it for drainage, and hang them up on a fence line. Each one of those is enough for a small herb plant. Or strawberries. Oh, I love strawberries. You could plant a strawberry plant in each little 20-ounce soda bottle or water bottle. You know, like I said, hang them from some string, fishing line, whatever, along your fence, or from a trellis or something like that. Maybe you don't have very much ground, but if you go up, you know, cubic footage is a lot more than square footage. Um, Going back on buckets and bags and stuff like that, if you want to grow a tomato plant, but you don't have very much soil, you don't have very much lawn area, that's okay. Get a couple of 5-gallon buckets. A tomato plant will grow just fine in a 5-gallon bucket. Put your potting soil in it, plant your tomato, put a little bit of a trellis on it, and there you go. Plus is, if you need to move it for some reason, it's easy enough to, well, usually easy enough to pick it up and move it, at least until it gets too big. You know, if it's starting to fall over, just build your trellis up higher, stronger. Um, Tomato plants and anything growing, vining like that, go up, keep going up. And I've seen some really tall tomato plants, and you know, 1 square foot of ground space, but it can go up 6 or 8 feet. It's amazing. It's impressive. So think outside the box. If you're concerned about space, if you want to have a garden, you want to get into it, but you don't know what to do, like I said, use those key words: container gardening, vertical gardening. Just look at the pictures of what other people have done. That can inspire you, give you some ideas. If you have the ground space, great. But I mean, unless you have a ton of land, space is always going to be a concern. So different ways that you can be creative like that. You know, plant them on the side of your driveway. As long as nobody drives on it, it'll be fine. Plant it, if you're not using the ground for something, you can plant it there. You know, some people say that lawn is a waste of space. You know, unless you're going to eat the grass, you'd be better off with something else. Depending on where you live, you might not be able to replace your lawn with a garden, with a vegetable garden. Maybe you can do it in your backyard if you've got a fence around it and they're not going to see it, you know, or just maybe there's something else. If you live in an HOA and, you know, they monitor your front yard, your backyard, you know, you're limited to what you can grow in your windowsill if they allow that. You might just be living in the wrong space, and maybe you want to rethink that. You know, and in that case, you know, if you like where you're living, you don't want to change, you don't want to have a garden, then you're probably watching the wrong channel. You know, because Temple of the Holy Beard is all about being self-sufficient, looking inside yourself, embracing yourself, finding yourself, and being true to yourself. And a big part of that is just doing what feels right. And if you know, feel like you need to be self-sufficient, growing a garden is a big part of that. Even if all you can grow is a little bit, it's very rewarding, and it's very good for your mental health and your spiritual health, even if all you're getting is a couple berries here and there. Start off with what you can handle. Don't bite off more than you can chew, and grow from there. You will grow as it grows. It's good for you, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. But that's enough about that for now. I'll get into more detail in future videos, so stay tuned. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and make sure you hit that like button if you did, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Be sure to share with your friends, family, and followers. Until next time, I'm Pastor Dave from Temple of the Holy Beard. Thanks for watching.